Hello, my name is Georgianne Ford with the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation. And today we have one of our attorney mediators with us, Christine Lombardo-Zaun. Christine has a topic today, and the topic I think, Christine, is about do it yourself is not the best way to go when it comes to divorce. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so tell us why.
Oh gosh, where do I start? So we only have a few minutes. So I wrote down some things and I picked maybe like three or four reasons why the DIY divorces aren't a good idea. And I'm taking this position based on experience. So I served as a divorce review officer for a number of years, and I would review the cases that would come in. And there were a lot of people that wanted to do it themselves. And there were a lot of mistakes. And, it made me think like, wow, these people, I think they're doing it for the right reason, but it's not going to work out.
What kind of mistakes?
So they would make filing mistakes. So there are different counties, obviously with different courts, and a lot of them offer self-help guides to getting divorced. So you could click a button and it would give you like a checklist, do this, this, and this. But even the most diligent parties that follow their directions will still get it wrong. Okay. There's law out there that dictates how a divorce is supposed to proceed, right? You need to have standing to sue. You need to know what county to sue. There's certain things that have to go in a divorce complaint, like you have to establish your grounds for divorce. And a lot of people, when they're thinking about this, they're like, look, I just want to get it done as quickly as possible and as inexpensively as I can.
Right.
And so what they do is they just rush through it. They don't really pay attention to the details.
Does it have the location that you file in? Does that play a big part?
Yeah, I mean, you can file in any county you want, but you have to waive venue. And you have to document that in a divorce complaint if it's in the county that you do not reside in. So a lot of people don't know that. So that's one thing. Another big thing is in the area of the settlement agreement. So if you're married and you're getting a divorce and you own things or you have debt, you have to dispose of that somehow. And there are couples that'll just say, we don't need a settlement agreement. We'll just get the divorce and be done. And we'll split things up the way we want. Well, that is truly a recipe for disaster. What a lot of people need to do is write a settlement agreement. That's a legally binding contract that splits up. It takes a snapshot of your marital estate and divides up your assets and liabilities. Mm-hmm. So most attorneys draft settlement agreements. But if these people don't want to have an attorney, representing them, they think they might not even know to draft a settlement agreement.
Right.
So if you don't draft a settlement agreement, you have no enforcement, no protection legally to go after what is yours. So, like let's say you're entitled to half of your spouse's retirement account. If you don't document that in a settlement agreement and make it binding, and you get divorced, once you're divorced, you waive and lose all claims to any economic relief.
That sounds like a big concern. I mean, I'm just thinking right off the bat, why wouldn't you have a third party's eyes on something like this?
This is an area where, and I mean, if people know me, they know that I'm not that kind of attorney that's going to, charge you hours and hours of billables. But and I try to save my clients money. I mean, that's part of why I do mediation. I mean, that is, I think, the best way to go about getting divorced if you have to, because everything's on the table. We divide everything up. We get that agreement. It's drafted by an attorney who knows the law. And so people will, I don't know, they'll try and draft agreements on their own sometimes. And that's also really bad.
Because you miss something so easily, I'm guessing.
Well, so there was a case, not naming names, obviously, but there was a case where these parties drafted their agreement, and because of a grammatical error, and you hear this all the time, like, a grammatical error costing millions or whatever. But this was a grammatical error. They forgot a word, a very big word.
Mm.
And it basically cost the one party about $250,000.
Oh my gosh.
Because it said, instead of saying that they will get retirement, it said they will not.
Oh my goodness.
And the other person didn't really proofread. And now, because it's a signed, legally binding document, even if the person who lost that $250,000 wants to go and sue and try and recover it, like by saying, hey, we talked about this, it just wasn't reflected in the agreement, the courts are going to look at that and say, well, did you have counsel? And they're going to say, no, we did this on our own. And the courts have upheld contracts because of the fact that if parties came to the table and they're suing and they didn't have attorneys, the courts are going to say that burden's on you. You should have known better.
You have a lot of experience with this, because weren't you an attorney, a divorce reviewer?
Yeah, so I did divorce reviews for a number of years. So I would see these come in. And the problem is that, I would deny their divorce and I'd have to send it back to them, but I could not give them a reason why they were denied. Because if you do that, you're sort of giving legal advice, and you can't do that.
So what do you do? Just guess?
Well, so then it goes back to the parties and they have to try and figure out what they did wrong on that checklist. And there are a couple cases where I've had them come back 2 or 3 times. And every time you have to refile, you have to pay
Money, right?
So now they spent a fortune, and they've wasted a lot of time, and they get very frustrated. So that's the one thing. The other thing I think people really need to look out for, there are firms out there that advertise like the quickie divorce for like $99.
I was going to ask you about that.
If you see something like that, listen, here's the saying: if it's too good to be true, it probably is. I mean, I had some clients who, this was years and years ago, but they signed up for this before they came to me. And yes, it says $99, but then what they fail to tell you is that there's a fee for this, a fee for that, a fee for this. There's a fee, a $5 fee if you make a spelling error.
So you're going to get nickel and dimed to death after that $99.
The one couple I worked with and helped them get out of that, they had already been in about $1,000 and they had nothing done. And then, the firm that they had contacted just to get out, you had to pay to get out. I mean, it was sort of scummy and dirty. And, if you have assets, if you have retirement, if you have, property, you need to know what you're entitled to. And then you can agree on your own. That's what mediation's about. The parties don't have to follow the law exactly. They can say, you know what? Yes, here's what the law says, but here's what we're going to do because it fits for us. And that's fine.
Okay.
But, in the article I wrote, I think I made a point that it's really important to have somebody there advocating. A mediator can't represent either party, but we can advocate in the sense of, we're helping both people resolve a dispute.
And as a mediator, do you also complete the paperwork and record it and things?
We help, but they're pro se, so they do it themselves. But now they have help.
Okay, right.
We
Somebody's
can't
guiding.
Yeah, and I've seen a drastic improvement with mediation and the clients. Just by doing this, you're saving time, money, and stress. And the only way to see it is if you've gone through the horrible way, so most of my clients don't really see their savings, but I see their savings. And, There's a couple clients that I have that are saving thousands. And, you know, it's not that much money to invest to protect your assets. I mean, unless you're into like losing $250,000, I
Mhm.
personally would not want to lose out on that. The other thing I wrote is, and this is how important it is to get legal counsel, even lawyers who go through divorces, they do not represent themselves. They will hire counsel.
Well, there's a really good, solid example of why this is so important.
Yeah, there's a quote, and I don't know who it was from. I read that it was Abraham Lincoln, but then I was like, I read a little bit more, and there's a couple people that are taking credit for this quote. So I don't know who it is, but it says, "He who represents himself has a fool for a client."
Good.
And it kind of resonated and sunk in. You don't want to be that fool, not in this case, because it can be really costly.
Right. And I just want to thank you. I think this topic was perfect coming from you because you were the one that denied these divorces.
Yeah.
I mean, you had that experience to say, I've seen the DIYs. And they,
Yeah. And especially, the people that I had, one that they wanted to be divorced by the end of the year, but I had to deny it because they didn't do it right.
and
And
not,
so they never.
go, and you don't know why. I mean, so that alone, it's,
And there are local attorneys, like if you have a spouse that doesn't want to go through mediation, okay, I get it. So then at that point, as a nice backup, hire a local attorney and interview them and find out, if you're a good fit with them, and, shop around. But there are plenty of good attorneys that will guide you through the process and not gouge you.
good to know. And
But
I certainly remember any of you that are interested in talking to the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation, talking to Christine, getting more expert advice from her, 1-800-310-9085. Christine, thanks for coming again. Thanks for your information. And we're all walking away, probably not trying DIY for divorce.
I hope so.